The mist rolled over the hills like breath held too long. Elena Rosario stood at the edge of the cracked driveway, keys clenched in her fist, her breath fogging in the cool morning air. The inn loomed ahead of her, tired, weather-beaten, and hollow in a way that echoed somewhere deep inside her ribs. It looked smaller than she remembered, lonelier, as if it had been waiting for her to come back and explain why she left. She didn't have an answer. The Rosario Inn had once been beautiful, tucked at the edge of the Silverhollow forest where the trees stood like sentinels and the sky always seemed a shade too gray. Her father used to call it the last breath before the woods. Now it looked like it had been holding that breath too long. The white paint had faded to a sickly gray, and ivy climbed up the porch like it was trying to swallow the place whole. Elena stepped forward. The gravel crunched beneath her boots, a sound too loud in the quiet. She'd been gone 10 years, but the silence hadn't changed. Silverhollow didn't talk much. Not when she was 16 and left town with 2 bags, a broken heart, and promises she didn't intend to keep. Not now, when she came back alone, older, harder, carrying ashes and memories in a cardboard box on the passenger seat. She reached the front steps and paused, fingers tracing the familiar grooves of the old banister. Her mother used to decorate it with garlands in winter. Her father used to lean against it, coffee in hand, whistling off-key. She blinked the memory away like dust from her lashes. The key clicked in the lock and the door creaked open. The scent hit her first dust, would rot, something faintly sweet and spoiled, the smell of abandonment. She didn't hesitate. The door groaned as it shut behind her, swallowing her in shadows and silence. The inn was colder than it should have been. Light filtered through grimy windows, casting long slats across the wooden floor. Furniture sat under white sheets like sleeping ghosts. Everything was exactly where her father had left it because no one had come after Ellen across the threshold and let the keys drop into the bowl by the door, the sound startling in the stillness. This place wasn't home anymore, but it wasn't anywhere else either, and maybe that was the problem. Maybe she'd run out of homes to run to. She climbed the stairs to the master bedroom. It was just as empty as the rest of the house, but the bed was made, neatly tucked like he thought someone would come back for it. She stood in the doorway, hand on the frame, and whispered to the air, "I'm back." Something creaked behind her. She turned, heart skipping, but there was no one there, only a window cracked open and the curtain fluttering like a breath. Elena shut it and latched it tight. Still, a chill ran down her spine. She spent the rest of the day cleaning, dusting, scrubbing, pretending the quiet didn't feel like it was pressing in. She ignored the way the forest seemed to shift when she looked out the windows too long. Pretended not to notice the claw marks near the base of the back door. By dusk, the fog had returned, curling around the edges of the inn-like fingers, thick and wet and strange. It wasn't just weather, not in Silverhollow. Elena lit the fireplace and curled into the armchair in the sitting room with a blanket and a cup of tea. She closed her eyes for just a moment. Outside, the wind shifted, and deep in the woods, something howled. Not a dog, not a coyote, something older, wilder. Her eyes snapped open. The cup slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor, and for a long, long moment she just listened, frozen, like the house was holding its breath again. Then she whispered, double quotes, ... No, not yet. But something in the woods had already heard her. The morning after the howl, Elena found herself in town. Silverhollow hadn't changed much. A little more wear around the edges, maybe. The same squat brick buildings, the same faded awnings over sleepy shops. The bakery still smelled like cinnamon and smoke, and down the road still had the same crooked signs swinging from rusted chains. People noticed her when she walked by, not obviously, not rudely, but with that small-town sharpness, like they'd already dusted off old memories and decided whether she deserved forgiveness or not. She kept her gaze forward and her chin high. She had her father's eyes, and that made some people flinch. The grocery was near empty. Elena filled a basket with essentials, canned soup, bread, coffee, batteries. She didn't linger. But as she reached the register, The woman behind the counter stared. Rosario? Elena paused. Yeah, Elena. The woman blinked slowly. Middle-aged, thin as wire, with a jaw like a trap. Didn't think you'd come back. I didn't think I would either. The woman's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. Not quite disdain. Your father. He was a good man. I'm sorry. Elena nodded, the words sticking in her throat like splinters. Thanks. The woman rang her up in silence after that, but just as Elena reached for her change, the woman added in a low voice, You staying long? Elena hesitated a while. The inn needs work. The woman's hand stilled. You be careful out there, past the tree lines, not safe this time of year. Elena met her eyes, because of the fog. The woman didn't blink, because of what comes with it. A pause stretched between them. I don't believe in stories, Elena said. Softly, doesn't matter, the woman murmured. Stories believe in you. Outside, the fog had thickened again. Elena shoved her groceries into the trunk, unease twisting low in her belly. It wasn't just the woman's words. It was the way the trees had looked at her like they knew her. Bones, like they remembered something she didn't. On her way back to the car, a man stepped out of the auto shop across the street. Grease on his hands, arms corded with muscle, dark curls falling into his eyes. He paused when he saw her. Their eyes met. There was a strange electric stillness that made Elena's breath hitch. He didn't smile. He didn't look away, just studied her, slow and thoughtful, like he was trying to place a dream that had slipped from his memory. She broke the stare first and got into her car, but as she pulled away from the curb, she glanced in the mirror and saw him still standing there, watching. That night, the fog rolled in early, thicker, hungrier. Elena stood on the back porch with a mug of black coffee, the mist swallowing the trees just past the yard. There were no stars, no wind. Only the hush of leaves rustling low like something moving just out of sight. She remembered the stories now, half-whispered tales her father told when she was a girl, thinking she'd fallen asleep, of hunters who never came back, of lights in the woods, of things that weren't quite wolves, but not quite anything else either. Things that only came when the fog did. She finished her coffee, locked every door, left a light on in every room, and when she finally slipped beneath the covers in the upstairs bedroom alone, surrounded by old shadows and dust, she whispered her father's name like a ward. Papa. Downstairs, something creaked. The wind didn't howl that night, but the woods were watching, and they remembered Elena Rosario.